Hey, could you
One.
get a
Water. That's not vodka.
Testing. Is it working? Okay.
Sarah, you wanna?
Yeah, I'll take a little bit. I don't know, does someone have to tell us to start? We'll just get going?
Yeah,
Okay.
let's get going.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sarah Angel. I'm the president of ICOMIA, and I'm pleased today to be joined with my colleagues to do the ICOMIA State of the Industry session. My colleague Frank Kugelmeyer is president of the National Marine Manufacturers Association, and Sebastian Netupski, president of Polboat and CEO of Kotniz in Poland. Each of our panelists provide a different perspective. Frank can bring the North American perspective, Sebastian Europe. And so I think we'll just get started and think about a few of the key, there are a number of key messages we want to build on further to what we talked about, I mentioned this morning. So the post-pandemic sales of boats remain strong, especially for larger boats in most countries. Many consumers are looking for boats with the newest technologies and accessories. There's considerable backlog in the delivery of already purchased boats, especially larger boats around the world. And there's growing concern in some countries that pending recessions and the availability of other recreational entertainment options such as travel, along with long delivery wait times, will reduce demand in 2023 and going beyond. Sebastian, why don't we start with you? What do you sort of see as the top 3 things affecting business today?
One. Okay, first of all, I'm just a Polish person, so I have 2 companions speaking perfectly English, so I apologize if my English will not suit their perfect English. But what I can say, okay, I'm representing, the frontline country, right, Poland. So we are just next to the war. So Ukrainians are really making a great job fighting with Russians and defending their freedom. So from this perspective, mostly after the pandemic, we start to work, and we're always saying, who is the best doctor? Who just heal us from COVID? I mean, that was Mr. Putin, that when he just invited Ukraine, in Poland, immediately everybody stops to talk about the COVID. And now I'm just saying that we have this post-pandemic situation. So from one challenging or one bumping situation, we jump to another. So if we're just looking from this perspective, right? So what I can say, just to share with you some information about the Poland. Poland, that is one of the most famous and the biggest countries producing small boats up to 9 meters long. And we second after the States in such a production. I mean, the motorboats with outboard engines. We are the biggest in Europe. So it's quite significant part of this industry is located in Poland. And we are the frontline country, and we are after the post-pandemic situation. So during the pandemic situation, we've got the peak. Everybody knows that. So we've got a lot of orders. The orders books just was overheated. And we suffer because of the shortage of the supply chains. Mostly, it's not everything is changed. Now it's on the same level, we, from this point of view, we've got a big opportunity to grow because also why we've got this peak with this with orders and new customers just coming to this industry. There was a natural social distancing, right? So everybody just want to have a boat because there was a COVID time, everything was shut down. So you have to try to use the free time and maybe find some fun. So post-pandemic situation was really, really crazy for us. So the last 2 years was absolutely the best years ever. I mean, we achieved the highest turnovers, the highest sales in the industry, both shipyards and also the suppliers. But then the war comes, and the war brings additional factors because I believe it's connected. I mean, this inflation. So we have a very big inflation. In average in Europe is 10%, right? In Poland you've got 18 and it's climbing. So this is a challenging situation for everybody. Where it will stop. The second issue was that Poland mostly is based on workforce from Ukraine. So we've got a lot of Ukrainians working in Polish shipyards and in Polish factories. And when the war started, they just gone. They just left Poland, go back to Ukraine to fight for the freedom. But opposite way, we just took about 3 million of refugees. And mostly you have to understand that's female and kids. So we try to do something with them, help them, of course, try to find a job. They are with us. So this is the factor that just brings some turbulences with the production, with the with the capacity we have in Poland. Maybe it's a different story in different countries in Europe. I try to say from Polish perspective, how it looks. But generally, the situation is good. I mean that there is a positive vibrations around that after post-pandemic peak, the trend is still high. I mean that there is still big demands. Of course, it's divided between different sectors, like Sarah mentioned, that the big boats, the big yachts they are really okay. The small motorboats, they are stabilized, let's say like that, or just dropping down just a bit. And catamarans are crazy. The catamarans, the orders for catamarans are really big, really big. So, inflation situation in Ukraine. This is another perspective we have. Sorry, Frank, I can talk a lot.
No, that's okay.
And the third issue connected also with the war is, of course, the gas and electricity problems and connected with the conflict. So we're really looking for the future, just a bit worried about the situation. Of course, there is a lot of TV news that Europe is not ready for winter. I think, and I see that we are ready already. I mean that our gas tanks are full, so we are prepared for this winter. We'll see what happens during the next coming months. But the prices for electricity and gas, they are crazy. They are just they blow up, and now we just figure out how to work with this kind of prices, which will have direct impact to the profitability of our businesses. So this is the turbulences at front that we expect we will have. But looking into America, we think that we together, united, will go through it. I'll give you the voice. Okay,
Yeah.
Frank?
Over to you, Frank, just to provide a North American perspective. And yeah.
Yeah, when you look at coming out of the post-COVID period, what we're seeing, we're all seeing the headwinds, the economic headwinds around the world. And in the U.S., though, we are starting to crest. And if you talk to boat builders, they're seeing the inflation beginning to subside. We still have some supply chain disruptions. They're very spotty and they move around. It's very difficult to determine where they're coming from. That being said, our order books continue to stay strong. We're going into this period where we've got headwinds unlike any other in the past. If you look at 2008, you saw a very large inventory at the dealer level. We're going into this period of headwind with a very strong order book and very low dealer inventory in the United States. The only place that we're starting to see some inventory build is in the lower size boats, similar to what you're seeing, Sebastian, where in those entry-level boats, where the actions of the feds are starting to increase credit availability, and folks are really do not want to be entering into loans with those higher interest rates. That's right now where you're starting to see the headwinds. And you're seeing the same thing in the housing market in the United States right now as that begins to slow, and they're putting the brakes on the economy the best they can. So we've got maybe about 50% build of inventory in the aluminum type products, entry-level fishing, bass fishing, pontoon types of products in the United States. We're seeing that begin to slow, and we're seeing the inventory build now. One of the big questions, which is really interesting, is how much inventory will these dealers begin to take on? They're not going to go back to pre-2019 levels where they had a huge floor plan that they were buying. We've trained, the industry in the pandemic has trained dealers essentially to custom build virtually every boat because they can get a 6 to a 12-month to 18-month order book. And we're still seeing that on all of the fiberglass boats that are 26 feet and above. Those order books right now are incredibly strong, 6 to 12 to 18 months, depending on which product you're talking about. So we're very bullish right now in NMMA in the U.S., particularly as to what the market's going to do. We think that the inventory levels are so low, still in those upper end products, that eventually they're going to come back. And one of the last things that it gives us a lot of confidence here is you're now seeing the dealers. A year ago, the dealers were saying, you know what, I really don't need to do boat shows because I've got more business walking through my door. I have plenty of order book. I really don't need to do shows, and I don't have the boats to show. And what you're now seeing is even though they still have low dealer floor plans, they're beginning to come back into all the shows. We're seeing very strong Discover Boating Miami International Boat Show has got a very strong participation. But all of the other indoor shows, which we didn't see last year, Discover Boating New York, Discover Boating Boston, Discover Boating Chicago, Atlanta, on, all of those major markets are coming back very strong. And that says the dealers are right now going, all right, how do I continue to build that pipeline and build that market? So that's where we are right now. We're not overheating as a market. And in a lot of ways, the supply chain shortage kept the U.S. and the U.S. boat builders from overheating the market. Not everybody did that. If you look at the RV market right now, they have a huge inventory build. They've gone down probably for the last month to 3-day work weeks in their manufacturing. And the word is that they're going to be shut down from Thanksgiving all the way through the new year. So not every industry sector has really managed this as well as the boating industry. And I really applaud our members and the boat builders and the suppliers, because to be quite honest, it's going to help us maintain our margins going forward and be more profitable as a result.
Before we move on, Frank, maybe you could provide a bit of perspective on what you think the impact of Hurricane Ian had on the industry, and in particular Florida.
Great question. If you look at the history of hurricanes, besides disrupting IBEX, our version of Mets in the U.S., we had to call, unfortunately, that show and shut it down and cancel it just about 3 days before it. But historically, when there's a hurricane that comes through, the insurance checks come through, and about 4 to 5 months later, we begin to see another bump in that market wherever that hurricane has come. So it's actually been beneficial historically. Two things are slightly different. When I was down at Fort Lauderdale Boat Show and I was talking to the members and the dealers, particularly who were down in that region in Fort Myers and in the surrounding areas, they had folks who had not gotten their insurance check really were not even able to get back into their house yet, but they were buying a boat. And they weren't waiting for that check. They did not want to be off the water. And so I know one dealer who normally he wouldn't have seen this. He already had 5 orders, and he was at Fort Lauderdale to restock because he knew that it was coming. The other piece is that there were 3 major boat marinas that were damaged and really, are not operable right now. It's going to take some time for those to come back, and that's probably our biggest challenge in the U.S. right now. Is we still have a very strong net worth. There's folks that don't need, that are really not impacted by inflation are still buying boats, keeping those boats on order, and they actually forgot I had a couple things going through my head, and I just forgot what I was going to say. My point, but so remind me what I was saying. I think I got it as far as I go.
No, we're just talking about the infrastructure that can take these boats, which were destroyed during the hurricane.
Yeah. So going back to that, there is absolutely going to be folks who are going to be paying or buying their next boat in that market. The problem is there's nowhere to put them. And I know a lot of folks who right now would buy a boat, but they can't find a marina or a space to put them. So our constriction right now in the U.S. is mainly built around marina capacity and storage of boat capacity in the U.S. And that's definitely now in a crisis level in the southern Florida region, which was so badly damaged by the hurricane.
Yeah. So. But what about the shortages in engines? I mean, that it's still the hugest problem probably for the industry in the U.S. and in Europe, right? The availability of the engines, right, to the boats.
So lower engines, there is not the shortage in the lower engine sizes as there was this past year. Those are available. You can get those. As you start to move up and you get into 150, 200, 300, and beyond, in up to 600 horsepower, there's still some
the same story in Europe. The same story in Europe. The same story in Europe. What about the inflation? Because I mean the level of the inflation now in the States. Because I heard it's going down just a bit.
It is, and that we had capped, and right now we're on the other side of that hill.
No, we are in the middle of the way in Europe.
Why don't we switch gears a little bit and talk about what opportunities there are for the future in retaining and attracting new boaters, and what challenges we have in that front.
No, maybe I start. As I said, COVID brings us new potential customers, right? Because natural social distancing, for the English, just brings us new persons which never were involved in any activities on the water. So now they treat the boat as a possibility to have a fun, or also as an investment, right? That was during the post-pandemic situation. From my point of view, the boating industry has got a bright future, as always. Even if you have some storms, tornadoes at front, or I think we will grow, and this is the issues how we can find after these bumping times, how we can go back on track with this sustainable growth of the industry. This is the big question mark, how we can deal it. Of course, there is we need to look for the ecological solutions, right? So we have to take care about the ecology. This is another topic we can talk a lot about, the new sources of power that we can use, and we also just interest new persons that they can use the water on the areas, like in Europe, we've got these silent areas that you can use the engines, right? So you need so you can sail, or at least you can use the electric engine. So there's plenty of opportunities, I think. I always have a positive approach to my life, so I'm thinking that the vibes is okay, and we can together. I mean, that's what I like. What I like, the case with this, sorry, that's that's me. I'm still thinking about the situation on my east borders, I mean, in Ukraine. But that's shows one thing. When we are united, when we can talk together, we can really achieve a very, very beautiful things and just help our industry in Europe and in States to cooperate and just to bring amazing new products on the market that everybody will be happy and everybody will want to buy these products. So it's happening. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, Frank, we've done a lot of work in this area on retaining and attracting new boaters, so it'd be good to hear the perspective of the work.
Yeah, it's been very interesting with what's happened with the consumers. If you think about the pandemic, it really taught us who our competition was, right? So think about this: we had overscheduled lives. We had folks were flying all over to different areas around the world. All of a sudden, everything shut down. You didn't have Disneyland. You didn't have work, right? You weren't driving to work. You were staying home, and you got all that time back. And that's what created the explosion for 2 years within our industry. We saw over 800,000 first-time boat buyers come into the market in the United States. And it's because they had the time to be with their friends and family. And we're going to see that continue. We're going to be able to retain that. Now the competition is coming back. We've never seen the airports busier.
True.
Folks are going all over the world right now.
Absolutely true.
And so, but I think it's really interesting to realize that we really saw what was our true competition. And so the question now is, how do you make sure that you tap into that? And I'm very optimistic of the future because of two stats I think that are really telling. First off, we saw a massive migration to the work from home around the world, and particularly in the United States. People left their urban environments. They can work from anywhere. They can work from their boat if they want to, and they're wired up. They're working from RVs. They can work anywhere. People moved out of the cities during COVID, and they bought all around the country in the United States, along rivers, along lakes, along oceans and coastlines, homes of quality of life. And we're the quality of life industry. The first thing you buy is your home, and that's what was bought first in the last 2 years. The second thing you buy are the toys for that area. So I think we've still got a several-year run as people are acquiring the toys that go along with the new location that they've moved to. So that's one reason. The other reason I'm really optimistic is we went into COVID with a 16% diversity market share in the United States. We came out of COVID with a 16% diversity market share in the United States. The diversity of the United States is 40%. There is a 24% market that we have not captured, we're not talking to, and all of our Discover Boating strategy and our boat show strategies are pivoting to be able to talk to that market who we've never invited to come in. But I guarantee they've got the money, they're buying the homes, they're buying the cars. We just don't talk to them. We market to our historical market, and we're very good at that, and we never want to give it up. But there is a whole, the day we know that we're successful, this hall is 40% diverse. That's when we know, and the same thing of our boat show.
So you have a lot of gap.
We have about 5 more minutes, and we want to leave a couple minutes for questions. Anything else you'd like to add on?
No, I'm just open for the questions. If somebody wants to test me and ask about some things, how we can win with the Russians, I can help you. Somebody wants to join the international, army in Ukraine. No, I'm just joking, but just the message is, of course, if there is no question, the message is very positive. Whatever it happened, we'll go a step further, and the industry together in States and in Europe has got a really bright future. Of course, there will be turbulences. Of course, there will be some problems, but the global approach is very, very positive.
Any final thoughts,
When
Frank?
it's
Yeah, I think I think one final comment I'd like to make, because we just saw in the U.S. the Department of Commerce measures the outdoor recreation economy in the U.S. And we, along with a bunch of coalition partners, lead that work. And it's measured by a group called the Bureau of Economic Analysis. So it's the government saying how big you are as an industry sector. And we outpaced the outdoor recreation economy in the U.S. is now a $689 billion industry. It drives almost 2% of the U.S. GDP. And to think that 6 years ago we weren't even measured as a sector is amazing. And the single largest driver of the outdoor recreation economy is the recreational boating and fishing market. So we're the biggest driver of one of the top 10 industry sectors in the country, and we weren't measured 6 years ago, 7 years ago by the federal government. It's astounding when you think about how important we are, what a critical economic engine, and the importance that we played when we went through COVID of lifting up communities, lifting up the health and wellness of people, as well as lifting up so many Americans and people around the world. We are such an important industry sector, and it's something that we should never, ever take for granted and that we should be nurturing. The last thing I'll say is we outpaced the U.S. GDP, recreational fishing, boating, and outdoor recreation during that COVID period. We saw growth that was in double digits. The U.S. economy during that time, we outpaced the growth of the U.S. economy by 3 times. 3 times. We were the ones driving the tax revenue. We were the ones driving the growth in different communities. We were driving the growth in the health and the wellness of communities. That means that we have a special power being able to go back to those policymakers and the federal government and ask them for investments in our industry so that we can maintain that momentum. And that's exactly what we plan to do. And we shouldn't be just doing it in the U.S. in this way or in Canada together like we're doing in North America. We should be doing this collectively around the entire world. We're that important to economies.
We are doing it already. We just the members of ICOMIA, right? We are the voice of worldwide industry. So we're just discussing about that. Argue sometimes, right? Sometimes have a fun.
We have a question here.
Yeah, that all sounds great, but I wonder, do you have any concerns about the affordability of the boats? We're a 26, 27-foot center console. It might cost $250,000 or more.
Great question. So I don't know if everybody heard, but it was a question of is there a concern about the affordability of boats? So I think that is one of the missing opportunities for the boating industry, having come out of the RV industry, that we've seeded that sort of entry-level space. It's being filled in right now by groups like Freedom Boat Club and the rental. That's not a bad thing, and here's why. In the U.S., there had been a lot of new boaters who came in, but they did not come into well-maintained or new product. They came into used boats as sort of their entry-level first-time boat, and they ended up buying a boat that did not give them a good experience. And so what we found in the RV industry, if somebody did 30% of new RVers, new RV owners, they rented first. 30% of those buyers. So by building up a stronger rental market, allowing people to test, it's going to allow them to ladder in. And so the rental market that's now expanding worldwide is a really important strategic play for the whole industry to grow the overall market. It's not going to steal from the boat buyer.
Especially for the young generations, I mean, the sharing economy. There's this kind of sentence. In Europe is very popular, this to create these clubs, because I cannot afford it even to buy a boat.
Yeah.
But I can be a club member. So I can use the boat, paying the monthly fees, and I can use the boat, I don't know, few weeks a year just for me. And then I recognize my desires, right? Because maybe I need a day boat, or maybe I need a fishing boat. Because if I'm just entry-level customer, I just know the boats are fun. That brings me fun. But I don't know which kind of fun I like the best, right? So I mean, maybe I just like fishing. I like the skiing, right? I just want to have a day boat or just catamaran just to spend a nice time with the family on the safety place, right? So it's happening already. I mean
But I do believe there is an open market in that entry level, and that's an open market for someone who wants to go at that market. One of the reasons that I think this has not been staying as strong as it could is because boat builders are making a lot more margin in the larger products, and so that you can't blame them as business folks going after that market. But what it's seeding is that open entry level is a real opportunity, a commercial opportunity in my mind within the industry that hasn't fully been tapped. There's some doing it in the pontoon space, in the aluminum side, but that's also where we're starting to see the inventory builds, largely because of what's happening in terms of the recessionary fears, the actions of the Fed, people who need the only ones getting loans right now are people who need loans, right? Not who want something. Somebody who can afford to buy it, they're going to wait until the interest rates are better, or they can just buy it straight out direct. And we're seeing that activity in that upper end, still stay really robust. It's that entry level where we're seeing the headwinds, and they're the most impacted by the economy and by price sensitivity, to your point.
Question here in front.
Just to piggyback on the starting at price, the price of everything, we mentioned RVs and camping in general. It's an interesting stat that we're following, that only 5% of all campers participate in recreational boating. And with RV inventory being high and MSRPs being lowered significantly, do you see camping as a whole continuing to compete?
So I don't see it as a competition, and I'm not sure where your data is, and I'd love to follow up and talk to you on the back end. In the research that we had at RVIA and Go RVing, 30% of RVers on the boat, and you just saw 1.5 million new RVers buy RVs. That means that those first-time RVers, 30% at minimum, are potential boat buyers. So, and here's the other, I want to tell you, this is a really important comment that you just made. Outdoor recreation, people who go into outdoor recreation, they don't do one activity. What's happened with consumers around, particularly in the United States, they sample a life well lived. It's the experience economy. People want to try it all. They're not just doing one thing. And I've done research in my past that showed that 8 out of 10 people who are already active in one outdoor active lifestyle want to try another. That's 8 out of 10 people who camp want to try boating. 8 out of 10 people who bike or kayak want to try boating. 8 out of 10 people who fish want to try boating. It means we're all connected in the outdoor recreation lifestyle, and those adjacencies can be leveraged in a way that a lot of industries right now don't do. And there's a reason why the biggest companies have a tendency to span all of those lifestyle activities, particularly in the United States. In sporting goods stores or companies like REI or many others, they're multi-activity, and that's why they're so big and powerful and strong.
I think that's a wrap. Thank you, gentlemen. We've gone over our time, so if you have any other
We're just
questions,
starting. We're just starting. Come on.
please feel free to approach any of us, and be happy to continue the conversation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.